why this Fibonacci sequence, and how did it come about that you're involved with this particular perspective in consciousness?
Well, it was kind of surprising to me because I am not a math person. I am actually really good at simple calculation, and particularly a third or 20% from my early days in the service industry. I was and still am a whiz at calculating a 20% tip, and then later moving into being a personal injury trial attorney where when I was a plaintiff's attorney, my compensation came as a third of what we recovered or settled. So that's pretty much my experience with being excelling at math. It's 20% and a third. And then one day, actually over time, it was happening regularly over a period of time, a couple of years ago, I started seeing these numbers during my meditations, and especially the deeper and longer my meditation was, the more I would see them, and they would be flying in a spiral. It would start in the center, and then generally it moved out to the left, and it was an expanding spiral, and I would see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and so on, and I instantly knew, without any understanding of how I knew, this was the Fibonacci sequence. And I started looking it up and doing some research, and I discovered, sure enough, this is the Fibonacci sequence. It's a naturally occurring sequence of numbers that you start with 1, and then the next number in our order is 2. You add that, that's 3. Then you take 3 and add it to the last one, so that would be plus 2. That turns into 5. Then 5 plus 3 is 8, and so on. It goes to infinity. And what I discovered in my research is that it is indeed a naturally occurring sequence that is in nature. Most flowers have the Fibonacci, especially sunflowers, but most all flowers have that pattern of numbers, and there's a certain number of petals that come in every flower, and financial traders use the patterns and sequences. Those that are very skilled with it can make a lot of money with it. That it has not yet been me. That takes great skill because it's predicting when certain things are going to happen in the market. So there's many ways that this Fibonacci sequence can be used, but the way that I use it in my work, in energy work, in opening people to the frequency and flow of abundance, is tapping into the exponential expansion that is available when you are in that Fibonacci frequency, in the layer out there in the ethers where that numbered sequence of exponential expansion is flowing. If you can tap into that, then you no longer have to experience abundance from a linear perspective, which would be I go to work, I get paid $20, $25, $50, $100, $150, $500 an hour. It's still linear. I have to do an hour's worth of work to get that money. Then I get my check and I go home and I do this and I come back and I do it all again. If you instead clear the crud that blocks and obstructs you from flowing in that vibrational frequency of abundance with the Fibonacci sequence, then you can tap into expansion and prosperity exponentially experienced, not linearly derived. And that is about the best explanation of it all I ever gave, because I actually did think about it and ask for guidance on it, how to explain it in the simplest possible way. Because again, for a person who cheated their way through high school mathematics in order to get the grades so I could get into the college of my choice, so I could get the grades so I could get into the law school of my choice, it's pretty amazing and actually hilarious that the divine has chosen me to express a mathematical sequence. They are funny, aren't they, Kenji?
Very funny. That was a really good explanation. Can you say it again?
Only if I close my eyes and twirl tap my shoes and have on my ruby slippers. Then I might be able to say it again. No, I probably could say it again because I was halfway
say it again.
channeling. Really? You want me to say it again? The whole thing?
Yes.
Won't that be boring?
Uh-huh.
I'd rather talk about you.
No, can't talk about me. This is your time. Ha ha. Gotcha.
Well, actually, I do want to talk a little bit about you being my grandson and how that came to be, because through how that came to be is actually truly how I discovered the Fibonacci and was gifted that, and how it came to be here. Because a few years back, probably about 5 years ago, I was a telesummit junkie, maybe 5, 6 years now. I was so thirsty and hungry for trying to understand how to do life differently. I had been out here in California for a few years. I've been out here almost 8 years, and I had quit being a lawyer. It was sucking my will to live and destroying and crushing my soul, and came out here and started taking care of the grandkids, who were then 3. And that's when I discovered telesummits and Kenji Kumara. And I listened to every show that every time I saw his name, your name, I got on. I listened. I got on early so I could talk to you. And this one particular time, I at the time I was living with my grandsons, and I knew I was about to move and that it was going to be challenging for them given all they were moving through with their parents and everything, for me, the stabilizing force, to be moving out. And you were on Sheila Gale's show, and I got called on, and the people that had gone before me were mothers, some of them single mothers, but they were trying to move away from their over identification with that motherhood designation, and I could feel the resonance for me in the grandmother way. And you said to me, so, how can I help you today? And I said, well, I have the same thing as those prior callers, but as a grandmother, and if you can cure me of this, then I'll be your grandmother. And you said, oh, that'll be easy. All you have to do is send checks. And I laughed, and then you did an activation for my grandsons to open their hearts and said, play it at night, and you can, leave a recording of it there when you move and play it for them. And I did that. And then I had some friends who had moved to Arizona right after you moved to Sedona, and I was doing a reading for them, and I said, you need to meet Kenji Kumara, which they then did. And they invited, then I had never met you, so they invited me to come to Arizona. We did. We went to one of your workshops and one of your meditations, and when we went to see that moment, this is what important for everyone in your membership to remember. What our mind is doing is the smallest part of things unless we let it take over, which we frequently do. Because in my mind, that was a significant event, and surely you were going to remember a year or more later that we'd had this conversation. And now that I do shows and so forth, I know and do this work, which I wasn't doing at the time. Of course, you can't remember everything. And so when I met you, we came to pick you up, and I said, hey, it's your grandma. And you looked so stunned as you were getting into the truck, and you were like, what? And then when I reminded you of the story, you said, okay, well, where's my check? And from there, we became what we are now, which is Johnny B. Good and Grandma. And out of all of that, working with you and being mentored by you and assisting you in your work and your retreats, I discovered so much and learned so much, and I'm just so grateful to be full circle with you now, sharing this platform and this call with your membership, sharing the gifts. Oh, can I tell one more Kenji story? Just one.
Okay.
So after a workshop, at that point, I have a scanning thing that I do that is calling on divine guidance to, scan on what's in your highest interest or what is the answer. Pretty much mostly works with a yes or a no kind of answer. And after this workshop, we were back at the house we had rented with those same friends and some other people who joined us from the workshop, people I had never met. And I was really undercover and still in hiding from myself and my divine intuitive gifts. I was not at all comfortable it was a lot for me to be driving from Pasadena to Arizona to just attend things and to meet you and all of that. I was not the person, I was not as free as I am now with all of this woo-woo stuff. And so you got this look on your face that I now know is you being spontaneous and channeling in front of these people that just dropped by after the workshop. And you said, Beth, do that scanning thing you do on Norman. Ooh, I was so mad I wanted to shake you. And I said, I don't scan on bodies. And you looked at me still with that trance-like look, and you kind of look dingy, you know, your eyes are going up in the kind of up to the side, and you said, pretend I'm your teacher. You are. Pretend I'm your mentor. You are. Pretend I'm telling you to do it. You are. And do it. And so everybody in the room turned and looked at me, and I was on absolute blast. Like, I'm not going to just stomp my foot and walk out of here, but this guy is mad crazy. So I just closed my eyes. I said, Norman, sit here in front of me, and I put my hands on his back, and I just started feeling with my hands, and every time I felt something, I would scan on it. Is this something out of order? Yes or no? And if it was yes, I kept my eyes closed. I just did it, and I discovered that I could read people's energy that way. And in turn, the feedback from Norman was that there were areas in his body that I identified where he was holding tension, trauma, pain, stored, trapped emotions, what have you, that were from trauma and accidents. That he had been in a bunch of car accidents as a child. He had a very brutal childhood. And he said, you hit on things that I had forgotten about, but that were still there and that I was still holding. And so that is the nature of this man, Kenji Kumara, who, if he ever tells you, pretend I'm your teacher, pretend I'm your mentor, do what he says, because he's opening the door, the gateway to what more is possible for you. So thank you, Kenji, for all that you have, all the doors and portals and gateways you've opened for me and for all of us.
Well, thank you
very much. You are a mighty, powerful force of light on this earth.
Well, thank you. But I don't remember that part, that incident. But that's funny. But anyway, I want to know more.
Again, though, my mind, right? My mind, in my mind, that was significant.
Yeah. But I was just saying I don't remember that.
Be careful what you're holding in your mind.
Yeah. I don't remember that, so it's good to hear it for the first time consciously. But getting back to this Fibonacci sequence, so how was that helping you in your meditation? How is that helping you in the coaching and healing work that you offer people?
It showed me how much more power there is outside of ourselves. So the idea is simple. If you believe, if you hold the idea and you ascribe to the paradigm that money and prosperity has to be earned, that you have to make it, that you have to earn it, that's limited. And it is linear. To get here, you have to do this. To buy that, you have to earn this. But if you instead open yourselves to flowing in that frequency where the Fibonacci sequence is, it's almost like it's the power behind that frequency. So if there's many frequencies happening at any time, all the time, all around us. So are you tapped in low or are you tapped in high? Are you tapped in dark? Are you tapped in light? And if you are tapped into those higher levels and you have the conscious awareness or the great good fortune to have access to a Fibonacci activation or guided meditation, it can literally elevate you to that frequency where exponential expansion is possible, so that you can begin without even having to study or put into practice the law of attraction principles. You can begin availing yourself of the ability to supercharge your own efforts as a human in this world by connecting into that layer of divine frequency where that exponential expansion is flowing. So it's as if you gain the knowledge that those stock traders have by studying the mathematics of it without ever having to do that. All you have to do is allow yourself to flow in that frequency, and things begin to come to you. So, for example, there was a time when I was just starting out with this business, and I had just moved and had this house and workspace to pay for, not sure how I was going to do all that, getting a little bit stressed out. Oh, let me turn to the Fibonacci frequency, to that sequence. I did that. And then I, within that frequency, directed the divine to send me a financial sign that this was right, what I was doing, and that it was going to work out. And at the same time, I was in the midst of applying for early retirement benefits from the state of Illinois and the county of Cook, from where I had been a prosecutor in the 80s, and you can do that when you turn 60, which I did last year. And I invoked the frequency and expressed that request to the divine, and the next day in the mail there were 2 checks totaling about $8,000 from those pension funds for benefits that were lump sum payable because I'm divorced and don't have a spouse. And I remember standing in the room I'm in right now, holding those checks in my hand and just trembling and vibrating, and I'm experiencing it a little bit now, just like not quite able to catch my breath about, wow, this really works. Now, that is not to say it's not magic. It's not wishful thinking. It's not like every time you say, get me a check. It doesn't work like that. Obviously, the check was in the works anyway, but the particular timing of it and my request that I be shown a financial sign that this was all going to work out, the divine intervened and orchestrated it all for it to arrive in that way, in order for it to affirm to me that, yes, flowing in this frequency with that energy of exponential expansion does work. So that being my own personal experience, as well as the experience of many of my clients, again, with the caveat, this is not magic. If it were magic, we'd be living in a Hollywood movie. It's a process. It's an energetic process and a frequency to tap into, to move yourself to the frequency, to the level of that which you seek to have. If you are holding spaces and places and old limiting ideas of loss, lack, poverty consciousness, it's not going to work. You've got to do the work from both ends. You have to clear out and release what opposes you being abundant, and then at the same time do the work to learn how to flow in that frequency where the Fibonacci is offering you that experience of exponential expansion. And then that's where the magic happens.
Oh, that was a very extended explanation. Very good. And Tanya James.
Cannot repeat it. I cannot
No,
repeat it.
I know. Tanya, who was our presenter last month, has a question for you. So, Tanya, you're unmuted.
Hello. Hi, Beth.
Hello, Tanya. Wonderful to hear your voice.
Oh, thank you. So are you doing any sample readings, or are you just taking questions, or what are we?
Yeah, she's taking
what
questions.
Are you in the
She's
mood
fielding quantum questions from you right now.
Fielding quantum questions from me.
Yes.
That means you can ask anything you want. I think that's what that means. So yes, whatever you ask, the answer is yes. So now, what's the question?
Yay. So lifelong. So when you've got probably past life, but I'll try to be quick about this. Let's say in this last year I've done a couple of money mindset type of self at home courses, and they have you look at your money blocks. And let's say they give you 12 different money blocks and you've got 11 of them, right? And you can see the pattern throughout decades of this stuff, and you're like, okay, I'm taking another layer off, and I'm looking at this piece, and I'm looking at that piece, and nothing seems to budge. Like, advice on that.
So what I can see in your field is it's like a huge commercial sized drill, like something that the electric company or telephone company would use to drill holes in the ground to lay cable or something like that. It's huge. And it's got you drilled down right down the center of you, keeping you locked in. And because it's rotating as a drill would, when you're revealing those layers to your mental mind, oh, I have this, oh, I have that, it just loops into that drill and it keeps going. But because it's got you staked in that spot, you're not really able to make the forward movement. Some of the stuff, those patterns and ideas and blocks that you've identified are kind of slowly rotating down into the earth and out of your field because of this drill action. But what you really want to do is get who needs to be drilled down? That doesn't even sound good. You want to get that out. So
that makes sense. And could that be like that constant state of pressure around money that's existed for 20, 30, 20 plus years since I've been an adult, and even before that, watching my mom crying over her checkbook every week growing up.
Right.
But, yeah.
So let's just take a minute now, maybe 2, maybe 3, close your eyes and feel into your heart space. And for anyone who is listening to this call live or on the replay, if you have that same sort of stuck pattern despite being able to identify the blocks, but you can't really, you might even do the work to clear them, but nothing really is shifting, this probably applies to you, and especially since usually the callers who are bold enough to raise their hand and ask the question are symbolic of what the energy of the group is. So I know there's more than Tanya that's experiencing this. So participate and follow along. You close your eyes, drop your attention down to your heart space, and there in the center of your heart, activate the light, almost like pushing a reset button on an outlet. Activate your heart light to illuminate this drill that no longer serves, and imagine that you can see it turning throughout your core to the right, except instead of it just staying where it is, you are now inviting it to move down into the earth. You are opening a pathway between you and the gold ball at the center of the earth, flowing grace light that is Mother Nature's, Mother Earth's recycling plant. And we're going to let this drill go all the way down into that gold ball for Mother Earth to recycle this thick, dense, heavy energy for her own healing. So it's a twofer, Tanya. Your release is her healing. So I want you to begin inviting that drill to continue going down into the earth. It's actually getting very excited to be able to move instead of having to stop underneath your feet. There you go. Just turn the power up a little bit and let the vibration of this drill activated clockwise going to the right. It's moving down now. It's about underneath your heart space. Let it keep going. Past your power center. It's down now to the root. And just take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, pop it out. Let it drop down. like a heat-seeking missile. It is down into that gold ball. And now, from the crown, I want you to imagine the beautiful emerald green color that is associated with love and abundance and the Fibonacci sequence. So we're calling in the frequency of the Fibonacci, and you're going to bring that in through your crown. You're going to let it layer in that circular motion so that it's following the pathways through your energetic field that the drill down created, filling in all that space that you've created with this vibration of the Fibonacci. There you go. And now just let it swirl around, swirling around your spine, filling in all your chakras. Let it flow front, back, side to side, down your legs, into your feet. Take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, direct this vibration to seal into all of your energetic field. Let it filling in completely in all the nooks and crannies of your body until it flows out and over into your auric field so that you're sitting in a beautiful emerald green bubble of the Fibonacci flow. Beautiful there. And then just as you slowly become conscious of the shifts and the changes and the experience of how this feels different than being drilled down, staked in one place, the fluidity, the flow that's available, seal in this experience. Remember what it feels like, directing your neural pathways in your brain to reset to the level of the Fibonacci flow. And then slowly, when you're ready, you can just open your eyes and come back to now, right here, right now, with me.
Woohoo! Woohoo! As soon as the first time you mentioned the golden ball, my whole body shook.
Wow.
It was
that's
just
powerful.
it was like I could feel the weight just drop.
Wonderful. Now what's coming through is allow yourself in the next few days and weeks as this frequency settles in. You're going to want to remember, that's why we paused at the end there, that moment of just observing the feeling. You want to remember to call this in because you've got, whatever you said, 20, 30 years, your whole life, listening to your mom, of doing it the other way, of experiencing lack and limitation and money as stress and sorrow and sadness and not enough and all of that. And so that's a lot of habits in your fields, in your bodies, and all your mental, energetic, spiritual, emotional. And so you want to consciously work on a daily basis in the next 21 to 30 days to break that habit and pattern. You want to spend a few minutes each day calling in this energy, making sure that pathway that you felt drop out is still out, because it's just natural that after so long of holding it, that the experience of that old way may try to creep back in, and you just want to invite it back out into that gold ball. The other thing that's coming through for you and for everyone is to gently, with love, honor yourself for the shifts and changes that you've made, even if they have not made manifest in the physical more dollars in the bank at this moment. It takes time, right? Energy's fluid and light, and it takes time for it to integrate into our physical bodies because it's more dense. It takes time for it necessarily to get out into the world, and for you to actually be open, you have to be willing to receive. You can do all the clearing you want, but if you're not open to receiving prosperity, it's not going to come. So start working on noticing where you aren't receiving. In that story that I told about Kenji saying, do your scanning on Norman's body, I wasn't in that moment ready to receive that divine inspiration coming through my teacher, my mentor, my friend, my grandson. I wasn't willing, but I was so exposed that I couldn't say no, and reluctantly ended up receiving. That's the hard way. The easy way to receive is just to begin recognizing where you're holding or opposing the energy of opening to receiving. For me, 6-8 months ago, I stopped still where I stood because I heard a voice saying, "You don't care about money." And I said, What? What do you mean? And then I realized, and I'm getting full body chills here, all my life since I was a child, I said, I don't care about money. It was in part my family political, cultural philosophies and leanings that money and power were corrupt and bad, and the man and all that stuff. And it was also my own innocent inner child, little girl, beautiful divine light self saying, but I don't care about money and I don't care about power. I care about good things. It was actually a noble thing to say, except what was I telling myself for all my life?
I've said the same thing. I've said the same thing.
I don't care about money. So what did I do?
Yes, I said it in my 20s a lot.
And it just meant that wasn't what motivated me. But what I was literally saying was what I was putting out to the universe. Think of it as a restaurant, right? If you want a grilled cheese, but you order a salad, you're not getting a grilled cheese. So I wanted prosperity, but I was ordering up, I don't care about money. So the divine was saying, but you don't care about money. And so what I did to counteract that was I created a silly little mantra that I would dance around and say, and I had to do it like all day, every day for that 21, 30 days, for weeks and weeks to shift it. I am money and money is me. I am free to be wealthy. And I would just dance around and say that until I started believing it. And what that does is takes the tension, the resistance, the opposing energy to receiving abundance out so that you can open to receiving it, because the way that you'll get it is not necessarily going to be the way you think you're going to get it. And if you limit your thinking to that which you can see and know and understand, well, then you're not open to the Fibonacci experience of exponential expansion. So work on that, as well as holding that space of that beautiful emerald green. Great work.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, SCN has a question on the chat board, and it is, Beth, how is this approach to finances compared to the Hindu approach to obtaining wealth, which is manifestation through the Shaktis?
I am not an expert in the Hindu philosophy principles of manifesting through the Shakti, so I can't actually answer that. But what I can't answer it from my head, because as my grandson once said, I can't know that. I don't know that. Maybe Kenji can't answer, but what I can do is scan on it for you, Essie. Are the Hindu Shakti principles the equivalent of the Fibonacci sequence? And that is a very resounding yes. So if that's what you're practicing and it's working for you, then carry on. And if it is working but not as extensively as you would like, then those answers and the discussion that Tanya and I just had about examining where you are holding ideas, thoughts, patterns, and beliefs that don't rise to the level of those Shakti principles, then you need to examine those and release them and bring in some higher vibrational ideas and patterns and beliefs that match that frequency of the Hindu Shakti principles. I hope that answers your question. Do you have anything to say on that, Kenji?
Wow, that was very good. Boy, I'm impressed, Grandma.
The student done good, huh?
The student done very good.
And
okay,
I would like
to
add one thing. I want to add
Yeah.
one thing to that, just because I know that we all embrace dropout. You guys have access here, and I say this with great humility and adoration. You have access in this membership program to one of the most gifted healer, light worker, quantum light weavers on the planet. So take advantage of that, because working with this man is how I got here. I have these gifts are mine. Everyone is unique. We all have intuitive gifts. We all have divine missions that we came here to fulfill, and we all need help in getting out of our way, and you've got a master here. So take advantage of this man's teachings as you are, and go as deep as you can to get the crud out of the way and open, because this guy's a master. Just had to say that, Ken.
Thank you for the advertisement. And now we have the illustrious Michael Armstrong from Austin, Texas. You are now live. Whoops, wait a minute. What happened here? Okay. I meant to unmute Mike, and then the legacy mode refreshed the page in that moment, and so I did the wrong person. Okay, Mike, you are live and on the air.
All right, this is great, Beth. I'm absolutely loving this. I first heard Beth. One of her works was it was a channeling of Archangel Michael, and it just blew my mind when I listened to it. And you also have these monthly energy healing calls that I tuned into, and those are really awesome too. Highly recommend people check that out. But my question is, it seems as though there's some heightened energies in the planet right now, sort of like an acceleration, it seems, of consciousness. And my question is, what would you recommend to integrate some of these new Earth changes and shifts that are taking place to step more into a 5D way of living, whether it's intuition, psychic abilities, telepathy, higher energies, just tuning into our own purpose, and all that?
Grandma, go ahead. Wait a minute. Did I mute her? Let me see. Let me go back here. Oh, what happened? Okay, sorry, Grandma. Okay, you're unmuted.
I answered the question, and I'm only doing it once. I did. I was going strong there by myself. Okay, let's start again. So you are spot on, Michael, that is the energy that's running now. The divine and Mother Earth and the entire galaxy has conspired to our highest good to create this really strong and powerful, wavy, insane, painful, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this next moment, let alone the rest of the day kind of energy. And it's been running this whole year, but it's really intensifying because 2019 carries the energy, the inspiration, the promise of new beginnings. And in order to take advantage of those new beginnings, we've got to clear the crud out and be ready. So that's why things are really heavy and dense. And, one day you're great and feeling good, and the next day you feel you got run over by a truck and there's absolutely nothing that happened differently, or you might even feel that from 1 hour to the next. And the best thing you can do is notice what you feel, allow it, and process it. So for me, this whole last month of November was bringing up a lot of sadness and just crying for no reason. And at first, as I was not mindfully tuning into what was happening, I started, getting in the mental mind chatter, like, what is this? Stop it. And then I said, wait a minute. No, let me feel this. Feel it, release it, let it go, let it flow. The tears are actually cleansing, just as the rain washes away the dust and dirt that's built up during those sunny days. And is necessary to nurture things growing, and you plant a seed, it needs not only sun, it also needs rain. So whatever you're feeling in this time, feel it and then let it go. Use that vortex that is running. You just set it under your feet, under your aura, running counterclockwise. Sink the funnel end of it into that gold ball that we talked about and used it with the first caller, with Tanya, and you can let those old, dense emotions drop into that vortex for recycling out of your field. I've also been having, and I know from my clients, a lot of them are too, like random memories are coming up. And some of them are very benign. They're neither exciting or important or traumatic. They're just like, why am I remember walking down that street that day with my grandmother? So I take a moment, feel into what's there. Is there anything more, anything underneath it? And if there's not, then I set that vortex and I let that go. And I've gotten the guidance that this is a prompting, because it's like we have all of our systems are like our hard drive, right? And the hard drive is overloaded. The storage is full, and we need to clear it out and create room so that as these new earth, fifth dimensional energies that are already here continue to come in, we have room to absorb them. The other tips for how to manage this so that you can open to receive those new gifts that you are opening to, telepathy, intuitive, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient, whatever they are, psychic, mediumship, as you begin to release this stuff, you can receive that, and staying grounded, meditating regularly, getting enough rest. It's really, at this time for the rest of this month and even beyond, it's really important to have regular sleep habits. I know for me, going to bed now by 10:30, following the Ayurvedic principles that every 2 hours of sleep before midnight, every hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours compared to what you get after midnight. So if I go to bed at 10, I'm actually getting the equivalent of 4 hours sleep in that 2 hour period. That is going to be real hard for me to catch up on that on the other side. So be mindful of how you are taking care of yourself and your body. Being tired and depleted, being dehydrated, drink a lot of water, even more than what you already drink now. Enhance your meditation and do tap into staying grounded with Mother Nature. Allow yourself some time, if you're able, if you don't live where there's a heavy winter, and even there, you can connect with the energy of the trees by gazing out of the window, or even just feeling, if you do it enough, you can feel it coming up underneath the floor. You want to tap into the rhythm of the earth. It will make it easier because the energy is already in the earth. The new earth, fifth dimensional energy is already there. So if you can align your patterns and practices and your frequency to that of the earth, you're going to find the transition to be smoother. So to wrap that all up, stay grounded, meditate, better self-care in terms of making sure you're eating right, eating clean, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, and recognizing everything that's happening, whether it's emotional or a memory, that is prompting you to let go of what you're holding in your hard drive storage bank. You being a webmaster, I might not be using these terms right, but you want to let go of the old stuff, because how can you let new in if you're holding on to the old? And the last thing would be, get the help and the guidance that you need. When you feel stuck, I work with people. Kenji works with people. Coaches have coaches. Energy healers have energy healers. We cannot be objective. I just listened to a lecture of John Holland, the medium, where he's a gifted medium, but he said he goes to a medium to connect with his mother because he can't be objective. So don't limit yourself in receiving the help that you need, because now's the time and this is the place and you are the one. You have to be ready to receive, and in order to do that, you may need some help. So if you do, get it. Otherwise, carry on with nature, meditation, water, sleep, all of that. Let the emotions flow.
Wow.
I hope that helped.
Yes, that was spot on.
Go to Burning Man.
He
Not
did.
happening now, but I know he did. I know he did. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah, you guys go to Burning Man next year. Talk to Michael if you need more information. So Beth, we'll take one more question from a caller on the phone. So star 2 to raise your hand. Thank you, Mike. Is that good? Was her answer fulfilling for you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. That was amazing. That was spot on. That was exactly what my soul needed to hear. Thank you.
All right.
I'm
Thank
so
you,
glad.
Mike. Okay, let's see. Star 2, anybody? And Michael, you can do star 2 again, and that'll lower your hand. Jan from Mysterious City and State Location. Would you like to raise your hand? Mysterious Jan, she, I think, is calling through the webcast thing. Oh, I don't know. Let's see, if she's calling from there, how does she raise her hand? Well, anyway. Oh, Nancy, okay. You're on live, Nancy. Say hello to Beth.
Hello.
Hi, Nancy.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm sorry I jumped in late. Then Wednesday nights are my choir nights, so I'm sometimes on time, and this time I haven't been on time. But everything you've said I can relate to. I notice that if I don't get to bed at 10, and right now it's almost there because I'm on the East Coast, that my rest is, I'm noticing that.
And
the
that's
quality
the key
of my rest.
right there. Notice.
Yeah.
Notice what you notice. And when it is out of alignment with a harmonious flow of you expressing in your body and in life, then that's not the way for you. So that's very good that you notice that you need to go to bed early. I had to be told that and then experience it. And then I started noticing it, which is, that's fine too. It's just, it's much more streamlined when you can notice what your body wants you to notice right away on your own.
Well, I try to pay attention. Sometimes I don't.
I think that's true for us all. So, did you have a question? Or is there
Not really. I was just listening to everything that you were saying about the time, as we're heading into 2019. So beyond that, I've been sensing into just the energy of next year, and it just feels very expansive. So beyond that, I don't know what else to contribute.
Well, thank you firstly for sharing that. Thank you for singing in the choir, because you bring much light and love and joy to the world, and the vibration of your choir, I can just see it. It just goes out and shimmers in the world. And so there is a little bit of, it's like you're sitting on a barrel, only you've forgotten that you can get up. An old-fashioned, I don't know what those barrels were for, but those big barrels that they used to put grain and so forth in. And I would invite you to pay attention to that sensation and to jump off the barrel and walk around. See what is up with this barrel, because it's like how kids play tag and then they say, "This is home and I'm safe."
Mhm.
they run around, but there's some place that's designated. If they run to it and touch it, you can't tag them. This barrel that you're sitting on has that energy, and it's no longer needed because you're safe wherever you go. So it feels like you meditate. Is that right? That you meditate?
Yes, I've been meditating since the 70s.
Okay, so in your meditation, just inquire into this. What is this about, and is this something that serves? It isn't. The energy around it is that it is no longer needed, and that you would find your ability to tap into the expansive energies of 2019. That would be more easy, filled with ease and grace for you if you release this, but it's not like it's a bad thing. So just inquire into it in your meditation. What is this barrel that I'm sitting on at times about, and is it in my highest interest to continue this I want to say process, but it's not a process, pattern, this habit. It feels like releasing the barrel, sending it down to the earth, and opening your arms out. I mean, let's try this right now. Let's just try it. Imagine that you hop off the barrel, and now you're standing, and the barrel just kind of sinks into the earth and melts down into the gold ball. You can get it back if you want, but for now, you just let it go. And now close your eyes. Everyone can do this. Extend your arms out with your palms up. Spread your heart chakra out a little bit, so just a little bit of an arch. And repeat after me. I am open to receiving all good now.
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 And so it is.
And so it is.
So just feel into how that feels. Notice what you notice. And as you move through the rest of the evening, even into your dream state, ask for any guidance about what this barrel was about, whether there's any utility for you to have it in your life. And more than anything, hold the space of knowing you are safe, whole, complete, and standing in the truth and light and magnificence of you, and you don't need any safety. You are safe right where you are. It's not safety as in fear, or it's more that sense of home, that home base. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as you drift off tonight, just contemplate. Where'd the barrel come from? What's it about? Because in the unraveling of those little filaments that surround it, you'll identify some patterns that may have served at a time, some ideas, some thoughts that no longer are needed, so that you can open to that expansion in 2019. And continue singing, my dear.
Thank you.
Bring such light and joy to the world.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks. Thanks, Kenji.
Mm-hmm. Okay, concluding comments, Beth, for our wonderful membership group. Maybe a little group reading is in order.
Okay. The energy of this group is very powerful. The M field that you guys are flowing in is very royal and regal. And yet there's, just as Nancy was the perfect wrap-up or lead into this group reading, because there's most of you, between the drill-down image and energetic function that Tanya experienced, and then this barrel now with Nancy, there is an energy of holding back. I feel it primarily, it comes from the right hip. It's like, kind of if you've been tethered to something in the ground, and this is opposing you moving forward. The area where I sense an activation of moving forward into your purpose, into standing in the truth and light of you, is in my right knee. And when I read the group energy, that is not there's nothing happening in my right knee, and it's because of those in the group that have this tethered, safety thing going on. Cut it. Nothing's going to happen. Just cut it. Let it go, knowing that all is and will be well, and move into 2019 open to receiving, because you are a mighty, powerful group, and there is support here in this group for you to move out of whatever you're holding on to so that you can receive what more is coming. Post on the Facebook page when you need support and help in Kenji Nation, because everybody here is going to, and I don't mean now just this group, but on Earth, we're all needing to up-level together. And so I encourage all of you to notice where you are allowing yourself to be tethered, because it doesn't feel safe to step into that royal magnificence that is you, and ask for the help that you need, whether it's on that Facebook page or elsewhere, because it's such a fine filament. It's not going to take much of anything to let it go so that you can have that experience. I need Nancy to do the singing. That's what's coming through from above. So if you let go of that tether, you're going to open like a beautiful lotus flower, and as a group receive the up-leveling energies of the new earth in 2019.